Hey, this is Overpass Insights. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about whether you should hire a freelancer or a software company. Alright, so today is a nasty, rainy, gray day here in England. I mean, at least in the part of England that I live in. And do you know what? It's kind of nice. It's nice to get the rain and the grayness and, back to what we love about England. It's cool. Anyway, today I want to talk about hiring developers, specifically about whether or not you should hire a software development company or a freelancer, right? So I've done both over the years. And when I talk about a company, I'm talking about a software house. So they've got a whole bunch of developers, they've got a building, they've got managers, they got project managers, etc. And you just hire the company, and ideally they will just do the whole project for you. Or should you hire a freelancer? So just go out and find a single developer who could do your project for you, right? And both of these methods, I've used both of these, and I continue to use both of them depending on the size of the project or the goals of the project or my confidence in both of the different methods, right? So I wanted to give a little bit of my insights on this because I know a lot of you guys out there are software developers like me. You don't need to hire anybody. You're good, right? You can do anything yourself. However, some of you guys might be busy with your day jobs and you don't have time to do like your apps at night, or you might have your day job and then you have your side project already, but you have lots of ideas and you're thinking about hiring other developers, and hopefully this will help you a little bit. So, like I said, I work a lot of times with companies and I work a lot of times with freelancers, and they both have the pros and cons, and I want to go through both of those. So let's talk about companies first. The major pros of a company are they should be able to do everything for you. They have everything in-house and you're not managing developers, right? They have a project manager who should be able to tell you when things are going to be done. I say this, a lot of times this fails. Like, if you work with a really bad company, this starts to break down. And when I talk about this stuff, I kind of cringing a little bit because I know I've worked with companies who didn't do this very well. But they should have a project manager with be able to give you time scales. They should have all the equipment they need, especially with mobile development. Like, you need to have several physical devices to test with. You need to have the right machinery. You should have QA testing. You should have all that kind of stuff, and a company should be able to handle that. You don't need to worry about broadband speed. You don't need to worry about whether or not ideally you shouldn't have to worry about whether or not the equipment is pirated or the software is pirated, although it might be in a lot of cases, right? So and they're just able to take care of everything for you. The cons of working with a company are that a lot of times you're not dealing directly with the developer, right? You're dealing with the owner of the company or the project manager, or they're hyping up the developers. Oh yeah, we've got the best developers in the world. They're absolutely terrific. Oh, do they know Xamarin? Oh yeah, they know Xamarin. Do they know Flutter? They are the best at Flutter. And then sometimes you could even throw like a made up language at them. Are they good at Zilbarb? The Zilbarb is perfect, right? The company owners are they're just pushing that kind of stuff, right? And I know this because I used to work at a company where I was the sole developer at this company, and we would go to these meetings with clients, and the owner of the company was just bigging me up big time, and he was like, they're saying, well, we need C++, our project's in C++, and some Java. So Eric is the best. Eric is the best C++. And I'm sitting over there thinking, I'm like a VB guy. I don't know if I should interrupt him and say this or if he's just on a roll. But like a lot of times the company owners, they either don't understand the technology or they're so interested in the sale that they'll just say anything. And when you're dealing with a company, a lot of times you get that kind of stuff. So that's a major con. And even though I've had projects where even though there's a project manager and there's seniority in place, then you also you spend a lot of times working with the developer, and that developer you didn't meet until after the project already started, right? So it can be very, very stressful. Also, you're paying more for a company because you're paying for the management, the building, the infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot cheaper if you go to the other side with a freelancer. Now, working with a freelancer can be a lot more refreshing because you're working directly with a developer, right? Especially as a developer working with a freelancer. So for me, I like to hear what the technical issues are. I don't want to just say it's late. I want to hear what's going on. Explain to me what's going on. Maybe I could help. I want to, or just so I have an idea. So working directly with a freelancer, a lot of times is a lot better, right? However, when you work directly with a freelancer, you get the issues of managing that person. Sometimes a freelancer will just go quiet, right? Doesn't answer emails, doesn't respond, right? You're just pulling your hair out because the freelancer is they're ghosting you, or they're ghosting you, and then they pop up 2 weeks later saying, "Here's your project," which is, again, so stressful. Or they'll come to you and say, "Oh, my internet is so slow," or "My computer is so slow," or "I don't have the equipment." So let me give you an example of a project that we've had just this past week where I'm testing it on an iPhone 11. So I get a test flight build, I'm testing it on my iPhone 11, and it crashes immediately. And I go to them saying, oh, this is through a company, by the way. It's through a company, and so I say, well, it's crashing on my iPhone 11, and they're like, well, it shouldn't be crashing. And I said, well, it should never be crashing. Nobody intended it to be crashing, right? So, and then they said, oh, well, we're testing it on an iPhone 8. And I go, okay, well, test it on iPhone 11. And they said, well, the developer doesn't have an iPhone 11. And this is, again, and I had to go to the company and said, look, I didn't hire this developer as a freelancer. I hired you guys as a company. So you need to make sure that he has the equipment he needs, right? He needs to find out what this is, right? So eventually the company had to run around, they got him the equipment, and he was able to test it on an iPhone 11. The issue, by the way, was facial recognition. It was using thumbprint on the other one, and for whatever reason in the code, it wasn't catering for that, so it's good. But anyway, that was the kind of thing which, the company can handle. When you're working with a developer, with a freelancer directly, there's times where they'll come to you and say, oh, I don't have a Mac. Again, you have to ask these questions when you hire them ideally, but they'll say, oh, I don't have an iPhone 11 and I can't afford to buy an iPhone 11, right? So you're dealing directly with a developer, and it could be a little bit more stressful there. There's a strange thing at the moment with the COVID stuff. A lot of developers are working from home and they don't have the support of the companies that they're working for. And I have projects at the moment where I would have been further ahead going directly with a freelancer, right? Because I'm having to solve a lot of problems for them and that kind of stuff. So I think the rule of thumb is, if you're a technical person, if you're a developer yourself and you're working with a fellow developer, then a freelancer is great. Going straight to a freelancer because you're going with a technical person who can handle a lot of the technical issues for you. The same as if you're a builder and you're going to hire somebody who has a specific skill to do something for you, and you understand what that skill is and you know what you're asking for them. However, if you're like somebody's asking someone to build you a house and you need that architect and that infrastructure and all the other layers of management, then you might want to go with a company, right? So that's the way that I think about it. But let me tell you what, it can be stressful both ways. I mean, after years and years of doing this, it still gets stressful. It still gets difficult. But, it is what it is. You build, that's what software is all about. No one wants to see how the sausage is made sometimes. But anyway, those are my insights into it. Now let me ask you guys if you've ever hired anybody, whether or not you've hired a software development company or a freelancer, and what were your experiences with that? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just hiring the wrong people. But it's been a lot of companies, a lot of freelancers over the years, and it's very consistent issues that I have. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. That is it for today. I'll talk to you again next time.